Great to see everyone. Great to be in Berlin. Great city. Last time I was here, it was my the US call it bachelor party. It was my stag do, so no questions about that at the end. But yeah, the storyline today that we're here to talk about is, it's on the screen. Do we have it on the screen? No. How last year's winners, Syngenta, have since continued their CiMi story and have increased their adoption by 34%. The protagonist of the story is, on my right, Joelle from Syngenta and her team there at Syngenta. And I think the backdrop for this discussion is that your CiMi program is only as good as its engagement, and that we live in the age of information overload. So there's a lot to navigate as CiMi practitioners. I'm Tom Gallagher. I work for a company called Evalueserve. Been there 11 years. Evalueserve's core competency is analytics and research services, and we have for a long time delivered CiMi intelligence. And recently, not so recently, several years ago, we realized that you must package those insights in a way that enable decision making to happen more easily, which is why we built from the ground up a CiMi platform called Insights First, which Syngenta uses part of their program. Joelle?
Yes, so my name is Joelle. I'm French. I guess you can hear it. I'm coming from the region which is close to the German and Swiss border. And I'm working for Syngenta Crop Protection, which is one of our 4 business units within the Syngenta group. And there we are located within marketing, strategy, and development. That's where we sit in the organization. And yeah, I think it's great to be here today, and let's see how we can discuss a little bit what we've done in the past years on that program.
So why don't we start at the beginning? For those of you, people in the audience who weren't aware of the Syngenta story, I think, let's go back 5 years. How do you think CiMi generally in the industry has evolved? And over that time period, any challenges that you see emerging?
Yes, so I think the landscape, and you're all here to prove it in a way, the landscape has evolved very rapidly, right? You have lots of tools, lots of platforms, lots of solutions all over the place. And here we are just a handful today that are working on that space, right? And this has brought some challenges to us as CiMi practitioners, right? On one hand, the multiplication of choice is really difficult for us because we need to have the oversight. We need to understand what is differentiating one tool versus another, what is making a difference, how can we bring that into our organizations and all of that. So that's a key challenge. We are the ones to also drive those decisions. Do we invest in that tool or not? So we need to really, the multiplication of things has complexified, I think, our work on that sense. Then there is another element which is also often, sometimes I think neglected maybe, is the global local organizations from big multinational companies, right? We don't want as an organization to have 100 of AI or CI tools within an organization, right? You want to leverage what you have, you want to build on it, and you want to be sure, most of the people use it and that it satisfies your internal needs. You don't need thousands of them, right? So you need to be sure you connect the dots all across the organization, functional and geographical. So that's point number 2. And maybe to just add one more is about the risk I see with the increasing amount of data we collect both internally and systematically also externally is the risk of maybe to have it disconnected to the real world, disconnected between both, because you have so much, do you really need to have so much, and all of that. So I think those would be the 3 challenges I see that have occurred lately in the CI space. And therefore, I think our roles is not only just about providing the insights on content to our organization, but also to provide the right features and tools to the organization.
Right. And I think we have to say, right, because there's so many suppliers here, that these products are enablers as well, right? I mean, that's also true. But I mean, what a landscape to navigate as a practitioner. I mean, which tool, which intelligence, the complexity has just gone up a lot.
of course, those tools, they all help us to make an easier job, to save time and stuff like that. That's for sure.
So we take a bit more of a focused lens now, look at Syngenta. I think you started building your practice out 4 years ago, thereabouts. I think it would be great for everyone in the audience to hear just how you've gone about standing up that practice.
So to have one step back, and that might resonate to lots of people. So it's not a new journey in our organization, right? We started decades ago to look into CiMi and all of that. But what we did 4 years ago was a step change in the way we look at it. And here the question is, why did you come to that conclusion? Actually, you are often forced to it, right? Resources management, cost constraints, all of that. That's all things that we need to deal with. And that's how our team got reduced, shrinked. And we had to redefine ourselves, rethink the approach we take, and we wanted to, we had to, in a way, we are forced to, but that's part of the game, right? That we have to do that. So basically, in the past, we were doing things that some people might think it's middle-aged, but we were sending out reports like 60+ pages to 60, yes, to lots of stakeholders, like on a monthly basis, just take it. It's lots of information. We all believe that was for everyone. But at the end, we said, okay, we are just 2. We were a bigger team before, now we are 2. We need to rethink that. Do we really need all of this? And that was one of the first things that we stopped. And then, of course, we were looking at all the activities we're doing, mapping them. And the question was, oh, by the way, what we spend most of the time on is doing all this recurring stuff. Half of the month was doing all this recurring stuff. But at the end, is the recurring stuff really adding value? And we're just participating in 20% approximately to strategic projects. So that's also a question. Where's the right balance, right? So that's a bit the background where we came from. And that's also where we started to look for platform solutions, something that could help us accelerate some of the work that we were already doing, versus also how we can bring more to the organization, to the different business units, and so on. So, yeah.
Yeah, right. And so in terms of the scale which you're working with now, you're a team of 3, I think you were saying, and working with an audience internally of over 2,000 stakeholders. So that sounds like a challenging ratio. So how have you scaled up? And I guess taking the story back a bit as well, like how did you really work out what those stakeholders wanted? Like you knew 60 pages was too much, but what did they need instead, and what cadence, etc.?
Yeah. So what we did was, it may sound very, very basic, right? But first of all, when we started to engage and have conversation on that, rethinking the whole approach, we were looking at, okay, but by the way, what are other industries, or what are our peers doing in this space? You all know maybe the maturity metrics, right, of where do we position ourselves as CiMi functions. And basically, we did that. We said, okay, our ambition is to step up there. We don't want just to be the ones that are pushing out content, right? So that was the first step. And then internally, easy things, I think, but basic, but really that helped us a lot this time was do a stakeholder mapping, point 1, and not just the people in the C-suite. You also needed to understand the needs of our colleagues that are facing the customer, those that are in the business units in the countries, not only just global, and the top management. And then the other part was, as I was already alluded a little bit to it, is around understanding the needs. And to do that, we did an online survey first, but also lots of face-to-face interviews. I mean, we heard that already. That was really powerful for us to understand what is it that is really needed. What is it that people want? When do they want it? And so on and so forth. And that helped us to shape, to shape what we wanted to deliver to them. And yeah, I think this is the key point. And yeah, please.
What is it? You call it something?
No, it's fine.
The living animal. But I think it makes me think of design thinking, where that first stage where you just have to empathize with your end users. Like you must know what their needs are, and it just doesn't happen easily. There's some diligence to do that, and it can also change. Yeah. And we've worked with other customers, not Syngenta, who they've just set and forget. They've just decided this is the intelligence need, and we're going to keep doing this. and we're just going to keep chugging along for years. And sometimes you have to say, actually, things have changed. You might have had it right 2 years ago, but now internal needs have changed or strategy needs have changed, etc.
Yeah, that's a good point. What we keep doing is this constant feedback loop because, and we like to say that the platform, which is one of the elements of our team, but not the only one, we like to call it that it's our living animal because we keep adding content, we keep adding features, we change. The thing we launched like 5 years ago has nothing to do with what we have today. And I think this is also critical because you need to evolve with with what you need, right?
Exactly. Maybe that's I think let's drill into the Syngenta story some more. Did we mention you won CiMi award last year? I think we may have mentioned that. The award was entitled From Insights to Action, which is apt. It kind of gets to the essence of what we're trying to do. But I think it'd be really interesting for people to hear kind of, that journey and what you're doing what you did around Intel activation, the secrets there, any turning points in the adoption story of CI at Syngenta.
There are a couple of things. I mean, and maybe that's nothing new either, but it's about to be spot on, to be sure you bring to your teams what they need when they need it. I think that's the obvious. It goes beyond, of course, being able to anticipate also what they need. For that, the continuous talking and being close to our internal customer helps, because then when you know about their strategies and their priorities during the year, you can anticipate what they could need during the year. And that's really interesting for us to be able to further develop. But I think, being spot on, doing the survey, we made it realize that you don't need to have the market size of a given market, corn in the US, for example, every day, right, on your desk. What you need to know, though, is to have the latest macro forecasts, or when you are doing the planning exercise, that's when you need it, right? But not all around the place all the time. So that's how we then selectively started to really do this spot-on information flow, and insights flow, more to say, and that was a key driver. And then, of course, you do your internal advertisement, right? You do the you go for your supporters, right? You do, whenever you have a chance, you present your tool, you present your team, you explain your scope. Having the tool also helped us to free up much more time and work with the business. We understood their needs, so we were able to bring in content to brainstorm with them, animate workshops, things like that. So it's really an upgrade and a step up what we can deliver as a service to our organization and be their thinking partner in a way.
Yeah. And it would be remiss, I mean, it's come up a few times in the other presentations, but I mean, we say the last year and the increase in adoption that you've been able to drive, but I mean, the backdrop is COVID-19, we have the war in Ukraine, two kind of terrifying things that are happening or have happened, and then we have the change around remote working that kind of flowed on from COVID-19, which is terrifying to some, great to others, or you might be somewhere in the middle. So I think, since winning last year, and you've had to deal with these external factors. And so what bearing did that have upon your tactics, and did you do anything particularly in the last 12 months that you hadn't done before to increase adoption?
Yeah, I think the last 2 years have been particularly tense from that point of view. Lots of requests coming in from all different sides. So key to us was not to lose the connection with our stakeholders, and moreover with our internal experts, because those are the ones that make, I don't know, in French we say the mayonnaise that it takes up, right? So you want to make sure that all these people stay connected. This would have been a nightmare to lose that. So obviously we did lots of conference calls using the usual tools that we know, but this was really critical for us, because agriculture was at that time really, a sector that was growing, that was under huge stress from a supply point of view. The situation in Russia, Ukraine, adding to that, with the importance in the global landscape, of course, from a food supplies point of view. So I think all of that, we needed to make sure messages are aligned, people have all the materials they needed all across the countries, to anticipate what could be impacts of this and this here and there. So it was a big two big years for us, lots of additional work, but great discussions all around the place. So I think that was point number one, very important. And point number two is we finally decided to launch a newsletter. So that might sound even more basic. Or earlier we got the challenge that we should stop to spoon-feed people with content, right, all across the organization. So for me, it was like we had lots of discussions back then. I was a bit reluctant.
Cautious.
Cautious, yeah. Because I was like, yeah, that's just another newsletter floating into your mailbox. Why should we do that? But at the end, again, we went to our stakeholders, asked them what could make sense. We got some clear directions from here and there, but we also wanted to bring in our touch. So I think that's really what helped us remind people about all the power this can be to bring the content to the people when they need it, remind them that all the content is available to them even when being remote. So that was really key to them, not to lose that. It contributed not to lose the connection. We always brought in a topic that was spot on for them at the moment of the season where we were in, a topic around like to broaden their minds a little bit to something completely different, and then of course giving our point of view around different events and so on. So I think that was one of the key actions we took on top, because we wanted to broaden the reach. We had already decent adoption rates within the organization, and I think this has accelerated it even more. And being remotely, I thought most of the organization, I don't know if most that's correct or what, but many organizations might have been afraid of this remote, but I think very quickly we adapted and we were able to do even a better connection maybe in some places.
Yeah, and you're basically talking about the people side of the job, like using video calls, upping the closeness of your interactions with the community. And I think something that strikes me as technically like a vendor at this event is that I think there's sort of a fallacy in the industry that if you just get the right platform with like some AI, that's going to be all the nuts and bolts of your program. And there's like the job description of a practitioner in CiMi is so much wider. There's so much more to it, so much more soft skills and so much more relationship building and collaboration that needs to happen. That platforms can, of course, play their part, but it's not the full story. And I think that's what, from my perspective, looking up from the outside in at the program you built at Syngenta, I think that's what you've done so exceptionally well, is that you dedicate enough time to that people side and to building that community out. On to our final question, which is just for the audience, for anyone listening, looking for practical advice, what would you recommend to a fellow CI peer in terms of practical things they can do to elevate the impact of their program?
Go back to basics, I would say. That is it. I mean, you need to understand the needs, and to do that, you need to spend time with your stakeholders, talk to them regularly, make sure we are on the right track, so that you can anticipate and bring more innovative things to them later on. So it's all of that. For me, that's the key point. I mean, number one, I will highlight. Then number two, we heard it a couple of times already today, the network. Internally, externally, but internally is very important. You need to have your stakeholders, of course. You need to have your set of experts within the industry, across functions, across geographies. Not because you sit in a global function that you shouldn't talk to the other. On the contrary, it's so much powerful to do all of that. And then also, I mean, yeah, the constant feedback and living with what makes sense for your organization. And then at the end, every team, I think, needs to find what works best to them. You have the company culture that's coming on top of that. You have the way you scope and you shape your department, which I think is also interesting, because, I mean, for us, it worked to do that shift, moving away to do the recurring stuff, and spend much more time on strategic discussions, portfolio management, all these kind of things that help people on the decision making on a day-to-day, in their projects, building business cases, and so on and so forth. So I think that's really the key elements to my point of view. But it's debatable. But yeah, that worked well for us.
No. I think, we've heard some of your points. They've been echoed by other speakers there. I think it's just a validation that the CMI program is a lot of things. At times it's a project. At times it's a change management challenge. It's an investment decision. It's an org chart decision, and this right team sized, how to serve. Often for enterprises, you've got a global community dispersed, even more dispersed than ever. I think it's just so fascinating to hear what you've had to say across the discussion. That's the end of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you.
Questions, please. Here we go.
Hi. How actually you measured this 34%? Is that adoption from internal colleagues, or what's behind that, please?
So that's the platform adoption rate. So that's just the platform piece. We don't measure the other piece. We just look at our calendars and we know how full we are and busy we are. But that's the platform itself. So that's about the number of users that have gone into the platform and that have spent their time there looking for content. We have different variables for that. Yes.
You were mentioning you have also a newsletter. Do you know what's the opening rate?
Sorry?
You were mentioning you also have newsletters, if I understood correctly.
Yes.
What is your opening rate? Like on the total of the people receiving? How many open it every time?
Yeah, we measure that as well. I don't have the number in mind. Maybe Tom has it.
I think it's over 20%. And we benchmarked against other...
Yeah, we did a benchmark internally because we were advised to look at, from a bonding point of view, from other newsletters which are well working, and we were above them, so that was very good for us.
So happy that you actually forgot the number. We can take that out.
Yeah, I can check that, but it's a good number. Well. We were happy to have it like that, yeah.
And I think some of the questions allude to engagement, and is that a proxy for value creation and ROI? And I think there are many multi-attribution, multi-touch models. You can go scientific, but the really simple thing is like a feeling you get when you look at engagement metrics that they are a proxy for revenue impact if you have if you're able to track the engagement of your intelligence through newsletter opens and through platform traffic. And if it's declining, it's often a prompt to circle back, let's do a survey, refresh the requirements, etc., check we're on the right course.
It actually leads also back to the question of ROI, right? Do you need to really measure and put a dollar value behind what you bring? Because often we are challenged about that, right? What is the cost? How much value more do you bring, and so on? And I think it's more the contribution. Was the company able to take the right decision of reshaping the portfolio? Was it the company able to now set this negotiation, set the deal with that other peer or with that other supplier or maybe something like that? I think the value is more in their, did they have everything in their hand when it came to that? So yeah, I think it's also that element.
So I have a question, and actually two questions. The first one is, who are the users within the organization, and what actions derive from the insights that you deliver?
Okay, so the users are very broad because the platform and the tool is available to everyone within the organization, right? So we have our main customers, I would say, which are located into marketing, product management, all of that. But lots of colleagues also coming in from R&D, which are the early development piece. We have people in supply, in finance. Even some of the senior executives go quite often on it, because it's actually, maybe I should have said that a bit earlier, but it's everything which is in there is the thing that people need, not necessarily daily, but they need it to have it somewhere, when they prepare for presentations where they want to quickly scan, okay, what did that company do lately in this and this scope and all of that. So it's really for them to have all the content they need at a place. And having that has really helped us to step away from doing all this. We don't send that many Excels around anymore. We stop all of this because, I mean, it was a time, not a waste. We learned with it, right? It was a time waste for us today, and we spend much more time like working with the teams on the strategies, connecting with them, going to workshops, brainstorming, wargaming, whatever. So yeah. And you had a second question, you said?
What actions,
What?
What actions can be derived from the insights? More sales, strategy?
Yeah, exactly. Reshaping of portfolio, investment into this and this space or not, things like that.
All right. Tom and Joelle, thank you very much. It's always nice to see two professionals working together, achieving results. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.